That's him.
Who?
The guy.
What guy?
The one from the motel.
Okay, what guy are we looking at?
Okay, the one in the apron serving the chili. I swear to God.
No fucking way. Jules, do you know who that is?
Yeah, the guy from the motel.
It's Cal Jacobs.
Characters plus plot equals story. But what happens when a story mixes both, with no clear understanding of what the story is and how to tell it? You get Euphoria. A character-driven plot is when a story is driven by the internal struggles of one or more main characters rather than an external plot. A plot-driven or narrative-driven story derives most of its action from a well-constructed plot. We often see the protagonist try to achieve an external goal, whereas with a character-driven story, the main narrative is almost exclusively driven by the characters, which includes their motivations and feelings. This, however, does not mean that the two are mutually exclusive. There are many plot-driven movies with complex and compelling characters. In Inception, we follow Dom Cobb try to achieve his goal of redeeming himself. The film is constructed based on the next beat, the next thing that happens to him, not from him, while also at the same time, we are given insight into what is driving him to do so. And while a character-driven story might not have many events going on, like a narrative-driven story, that does not mean that absolutely nothing is happening while we tap into their subconscious. In The Black Swan, we watch Mia lose her tenuous grip on reality and descend into madness, all the while she is getting ready to debut as the White Swan. When I first watched Euphoria, I too was quickly charmed and engulfed in this aesthetically hypnotic world Sam Levinson had created, based on teenagers going through very dark issues. Its intoxicating blend of striking music, visuals, and supercharged feelings makes for a dreamlike watch. However, it somewhat stops right there for me in the first season, about midway. And for an 8-episode season, that just covers the first 4 episodes. In the first 4 episodes, in true character study fashion, we are given rich backstories on several characters, giving insight in understanding why they are the way they are now as teens. We are introduced to a compelling character arc with Rue, staggering on sobriety, as well as insight into many of the characters' inner conflicts. And of course, through the stylistic cinematography and narration from the protagonist Rue, we see the world mostly through her eyes. And although I said that it was halfway through the season that it went south for me, it actually started in the very first episode when we realized that Jules had sex with Cal, who happens to be Nate's father. This was deliberately set up to keep us on our toes, anticipating what this would mean for Jules. The reason why I have an issue with this plotline is because on the one hand, we have a show that gives a hypnotic perspective and introspection on the everyday lives of everyday teens. And now with this plotline, we have an almost super villain-like character in Nate, whose storyline feels more akin to an origin story for himself, rather than for the rest of the show.
What the fuck, man?
Hi, Tyler.
What the fuck are you doing here, man? Get the fuck out of my apartment.
If you're looking for the kitchen knives, they're here. Same with the baseball bat from your room.
Please, 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 I'm begging you, please don't do this. Don't hurt me, please don't do this.
Between the character studies of the several teenagers and this plot with Nate versus the world, we see the stark contrast between this one plot and the rest of the show, which highlights what happens when the storyteller is confused on what the narrative is and how to tell it. This whole story arc felt like it was set up purely for shock value. It almost felt like someone on the writing team left an insert shocking scene with shocking revelation, and then proceeded to put this in with a very underwhelming and unnecessary payoff, which results in him catfishing Jules, and later on reveals his goal, in true villain fashion, explaining his mastermind plan, which is, if Jules tells anyone about what she did with his dad, he will send the nudes she sent to him to the police, which will get her arrested for child pornography because she's underage, and then she will be registered as a sex offender, which will ruin her life. Yeah. I was very disappointed when this narrative dragged the whole entire season. And if the point was to prove Nate's character, it's already been established. The first season feels like it's 2 different shows trying to come together as one. The setup for the show was more character-driven, and then suddenly it turns plot-driven with very little payoff. All in all, it just became very disjointed in the second half of the season. Which makes season 2 slightly better for me was getting back to the heart of the show, which was to get an in-depth look on these troubled teenagers and their everyday struggles. I understand that a lot of people did not like season 2 because of the slow story, and that is actually precisely the reason why I liked it. Now, by no means am I saying season 2 is perfect. Again, they have a lot of payoffs that fall seriously flat, proving that this show loves setting up the shock value without thinking of what is going to happen next. These are huge points that can't be overlooked, and just further proves how confused the writers are on how to tell the story, and as a matter of fact, quite confused on what is the story that they want to tell.
She always like this?
No, but when she drinks, it's just tragic.
What makes season 2 better for me is that we finally see some connections between all the characters together, without a big hoopla like the previous season with Nate versus the world plot. And we can see where they are mentally, which was very interesting for me, and I feel like that lines up with the point of the show. From private betrayals to public humiliations, this season channels existential themes a lot more than it did in the first season. It gave the most compelling, beautifully raw episode with what I think deserves a second Emmy win for Zendaya. We finally see the horrible effects of addiction, and I feel like it aligns with what Euphoria is truly all about. So what are your thoughts? Do you agree or not? Please let me know in the comments about how you felt both seasons. Also, please subscribe and hit the notification bell to get informed for more reviews and video essays. Thanks, bye!